The destination was decided in June by simple majority. Britain is leaving the European Union. The journey, however, will be complex and perilous, beset by wrong turnings, chicanes, and elephant traps. Can the Brits have their cake and eat it too? As Britain prepares to exit the EU, I hit the streets of London for a post-Brexit feeling on the ground.
100 days ago, and the forecasts were that Britain was about to fall apart. Since then, Britain's kept going. Big Ben still looms large over Westminster. The London Eye boasts a bird's-eye view, and Tower Bridge stands proud over the Thames as it did in 1973 when Britain entered the EU. In fact, for international tourists visiting Britain from other countries, Brexit may not be bad news at all.
We're visiting our daughter who's studying abroad. So, tourism around the UK, and then we're going to other parts of Europe.
Do you think it's cheaper after the Brexit vote now to travel around the UK?
It would appear so. Apparently the rate's gone down about from 1.6 to 1.3, so it's a little better on the dollar.
The fall in the pound after the UK's decision to leave the EU means that their dollars now stretch further and their holiday is more affordable.
Yes, it is because of correlation between dollar and pounds. It's easier and cheaper here.
Since the Brexit vote, the pound has fallen 13% against the US dollar, making London landmarks like these a lot cheaper. A family of 4 will now save $11 on their tickets to the Buckingham Palace, and that means more money to spend on afternoon tea at the home of the Queen. And the cost to see the city on top of the London Eye isn't as eye-watering when you consider it used to be $16 more expensive.
Last year, more than 36 million visited Britain, up 5% from the year before, spending nearly $27.9 billion. And thanks to favorable exchange rates, the hope is more will be tempted to come.
Well, the figures that we saw last week were for the month of July, so you're right, the first full month since the referendum vote, which was at the end of June. And what they showed was that July was the best month we've ever seen in Britain for the number of international visitors.
Burlington Arcade, the world's first ever shopping arcade, has been selling high-end luxury goods for nearly 200 years. At 196 yards long, it's guarded by the Beatles, the world's oldest and smallest private police force wearing Victorian frock coats.
Well, certainly since the referendum, we've seen an increase in tourist visitors to the arcade, particularly from America, Canada, the Far East, and Arab visitors. The shops have reported to us anything from a 10% to a 50% increase.
Wow.
Mainly, I have to say, on the higher end items. People certainly taking advantage of the exchange rates.
For high-end luxury brands like this British perfumery, Brexit hasn't brought the sour aftertaste some were expecting. Store managers like Zuliswa are nothing but gleeful at the post-Brexit boom.
After the Brexit, we've had much more sales for our larger price point products. The reason being is with the currency difference now, we've found that our clients like to travel from abroad to get the best price.
One of their best sellers in recent weeks has a price tag of £2,500. And the 24-karat gold inside, you see, because it's the cheapest ingredient that goes into this bottle.
Just last week we had a really large Chinese client come in and buy several of our products, and she loved the fact that it was British, and she loved the fact that we could do her tax-free and that she could take loads of products. And for her, looking at the price difference as you go out of the UK alone was a great help to her.
Right, sure.
Tax-free shopping firm Global Blue's latest figures show tourist spending on luxury goods in Britain in August rose by 37%, while its European peers saw an overall drop. Analysts in the city say the figures offer further evidence that the UK is weathering the short-term effects of the Brexit vote pretty well.
We saw that actually the economy didn't collapse immediately after the vote. And in actual fact, the fact that sterling has got 30% weaker against most other currencies, well, that's actually allowed foreigners to buy UK assets much more cheaply.
Retail sales for August across the UK, up more than 6% from the same month last year, also suggests consumer confidence has held up in the wake of the Brexit vote. But with Brexit negotiations not even started, there is no sugarcoating some of the risks the economy faces further down the road.
In the medium to longer term, there are obviously clear risks. The uncertainty is the big factor, and that uncertainty leads to businesses and households pulling back and not spending as much as they otherwise would. So that does suggest that growth will slow next year and probably into 2018.
And earlier this week, British Prime Minister Theresa May made it official that 2019 is the year the UK will be leaving the EU.
We will invoke Article 50 no later than the end of March next year.
That means the UK will be leaving the EU 2 years later. And that pushed the pound to a new 31-year low against the dollar on fresh fears that British exporters and banks could suffer out of the EU single market.
One of the big issues and the reason that London is so important and such a base for global finance is that what they have is passporting arrangements into Europe. So essentially they can freely trade financial services into Europe. Now with Brexit, what's uncertain is whether that arrangement holds. And if it doesn't, the financial sector moves from London, you've got this great big hole at the centre of London's economy, but also the UK's economy as well.
London has been a global financial hub for centuries, but its role has only grown in recent decades with bank deregulation and the huge increase in international trade. Now, post-Brexit, whether it can hold up its status as a center for international banking remains to be seen.